This week's episode is sponsored by EJ Cards. As always, EJ Cards, thank you so much for your ongoing support and love for our show. We cannot thank you enough. EJ Cards has got a trade day coming up on the 30th of July, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Shop 3, 2 to 4 Whitehorse Road in Blackburn. Free drinks and snacks all day. Designated kids trading zone. Carson's Pokemon Mega Mystery Box will be back. NBA mystery boxes. Special guest appearances from Gogi Collectibles, The Chamberlain, and YouCan'tCompthis. We'll be down there saying hi, having a chat with you guys, trading some cards, hopefully picking up some pocket change from the boxes. So guys, definitely check it out. EJ Sports Breaks on Facebook, at ejcards.au on Instagram. And of course, that address again is Shop 3, 2 to 4 Whitehorse Road in Blackburn, Victoria, Australia. Enjoy the show.
Welcome everybody to episode 95 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. And joining us today is the one, the only Shaq Foo 32. Joe, thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it.
That's good. It's good. Nice to get a collector on to sort of talk wax. It's a good change up for our normal Sunday night. So I think this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, like as I was saying, like I've been actually kind of prepping for this interview while I was in China. So it was actually nice to kind of just have just 2 weeks of just eat food, drink baijiu, and then just think about what I'm going to say on the podcast. So it's good. It's good.
Awesome.
I've had time to prep.
Yeah, if you've been thinking about this for 2 weeks, I feel like we just opened the floor then, man. Where do you want to start? What have you been thinking about these last 2 weeks?
Oh, look, for me, it was kind of like, like going back, to like when I first started collecting.
Awesome.
And
tell us
just
about
kind
that.
of,
Yeah.
Kind of like just as a kid, it was actually started with my mom. Like I used to kind of just play with my friends, and then we used to just bust out sports cards and just start playing poker with them.
Wow.
And then my mom saw that we were kind of using the cards as money for our poker games. So she just started just going to the Target and buying these like 50-cent, like markdown, like ridiculously marked down packs of like NBA cards. And whenever they're on clearance, you just come back with like another 5-10 packs of it and just have me bust them open. And I had this like huge collection of just junk wax that's just disappeared now completely, that I wish I still had some.
Where did it go, man?
I don't know where all that junk wax went, but it was like I still remember kind of as a kid growing up watching NBA with my brothers, like every like it was Saturday lunch. And it was like NBA action was on, and then you had like inside stuff with Ahmad Rashad.
Yeah,
that's right. Inside stuff,
and just kind of just like that, like how my brothers just instilled my love of NBA and basketball. And I played basketball as a kid. Played a little bit of rep ball as well, and so like basketball's just been life for me for the longest part.
Yeah.
So it was just awesome to kind of, and then my older brother got me really into cards. And as a kid, I was very particular about protecting my stuff. So I actually went and bought the sleeves. So I've got like cards that I have, like my old MJs that are still in great condition because I sleeved them, top loaded them. And then like I had a local sports card shop in Box Hill Station Street back ages ago.
Wow.
And I can't even remember the name anymore. But I do remember when they closed, I went to another place called Rookies and Legends in Glen Ferry. And
Rookies and Legends, I remember that. I do remember that place. Yeah.
And I had to to go there. Like if I didn't have my brother to drive me, I'd have to catch a bus, 2 buses, get to Box Hill, catch a train, and then get over to the shop, and then I just hang out there for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, just flicking through their bargain bins and collecting cards. And I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. That's, oh my God, yeah. That's a very, like, I suppose it's not so different from once the love begins, but the starting off with mum buying packs.
Yeah.
That's
that's
always
on
one.
sale.
I like that. But it's good that you didn't invest in rubber bands and put all your cards in your pocket like the majority of kids that were collecting NBA cards back then.
No, like I was like amongst the 3 kids in my street, I was probably the one that kept all my ones in sleeves, and like I would be the other two guys, like one of them just like was the rubber band kid, and then another one
Yep.
was like no protection, but like
Just
and just like it was, and like I was like I kind of felt a bit dodgy because I was like I felt a bit like cheated because like my cards whenever I lost a round, I'm kind of giving them these really nicely sleeved cards.
everything's protected. And you're like, hang on a second.
Hey, wait a
These are more valuable.
minute.
I beat you and I ended up with a rubber band and some cards. This is not good value.
And I'll tell you what, like I still remember this. I used to go play badminton in Doncaster Primary, and then like what happened was I was kind of watching the older kids like
Yeah.
playing Pokemon when it first came out in 1999. I think it was
Yeah.
like, and that was when they were like playing Pokemon, and they were also playing like Star Wars and and Yu-Gi-Oh when it first started
The
out, and I
same
got into Pokemon
Magic,
myself.
Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Star Wars was around for a little bit. I
It was
remember
it
that
was
one too.
really minuscule collection of like Star Wars. It didn't quite take off as well because Pokemon was just so hot. But like my brother and I were swept up in the Pokemon hype, and we bought
Yeah.
packs. And in one of my first packs ever, I pulled a Charizard,
Oof.
and I didn't realize the value of it because like I just didn't know its value. But then another kid came to me at the badminton court. He goes, "Oh, I'll trade you my Gyarados." I'm like, "Oh, sick! Gyarados is way more cool than Charizard." Made the trade, right? And then made the trade, got home, and I was like, saw it in a booster pack. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That SOB has just fully ripped me hard.
It's just
And
ripped you. Yeah.
and then I waited until the next Friday for the next meetup, and I went to go talk to him, and I'm like, hey man, like like you ripped me off, man. That's not a good deal. And he goes, well, you accepted the trade, so not my fault that you're an idiot. Check your values next time. And I'm like, all right, check my values next time. I will remember this.
Yeah.
I will
Oh
remember
God.
this.
Ugh.
And then yeah, ever since then I've been pretty good with my values, knowing how to check my values, how to comp, and
Yep.
So, talk to us about then moving from that into Shaq, because I'm sure heaps of stuff happened in between. But how did you settle on Shaq?
I mean, look, like I kind of got back into the hobby, like I think a lot of us did in pre-COVID. Like I just got started about a year before COVID hit. And
Yep.
then starting to learn about breaks because that was a whole new thing for me. That wasn't a big thing, and like jumping into a whole lot of breaks, and then not getting much success like a lot of us do with the
Yep.
breaks, and learning the hard way. Like like how much did I just spend? Like I love to buy in on Noir and the really expensive ones because I love the cards from that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then one day I was just kind of just flicking around, and then I saw there was a sale online, and Cherry had announced, "Oh, we're doing a flash sale. Hop online, get a great deal." And there was a deal on a Shaquille O'Neal auto. It was like $100 for this like Topps auto, and I was like, "That's pretty cheap for Shaq. They usually go for 200." So I said, "Cool, that's half price. I'll buy one of those." And while I was buying that, I started price hunting, because around that time I was collecting
Yeah.
MJ, because everything had just like the MJ doco had just dropped. I was like getting back into MJ, and then I was
You were
like,
one of the very few people in the world that was collecting Michael Jordan.
yes, yeah, and then like continuing to drive that price right up, and
Yeah.
I was like, I would love a scoring Kings, and I looked at the price of that bad boy, and I was like, $600. Like I was like, God damn, man! Now it's like 800 or 1,000 now for a raw scoring Kings MJ now. So in hindsight, I probably should have bought some then.
True.
And I was like, who else is in this collection? Like, who else can I buy in this
Yeah.
that was in the same orbit as MJ? And I was like, Shaq. Like
Yeah.
it was gonna be Shaq. It was either gonna be Shaq or Charles Barkley.
One of those polarizing players, I guess, as far as yeah.
And like like guys I remember from my childhood that I grew up with, that was like in that same orbit as MJ, and I
Yeah.
was like, but Charles wasn't as dominant as Shaq. And I still remember the videos of watching Shaq breaking rims and just laughing my ass off as a kid, and I still do
Yeah.
now.
He
Watching
was
those highlights,
ridiculous, wasn't he? Like
man.
rookie Shaq with him like running down the court, dribbling the ball. Like that, I feel like that's something that's never going to leave my mind. That image.
And the
No.
one where he
Yeah.
like he breaks the backboard and it just folds on itself,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and
That
like
one.
and like everybody else is just kind of like what's just happened?
Yeah.
Like this guy's just breaking rims, and like
Yeah.
it hasn't been since like Daryl Dawkins, like who was deliberately breaking rims and getting, and getting told stop breaking rims or we'll start finding your ass, and and Shaq's like, and then that just kind of just kicked it off, like that $100 auto, and then I was like, all right, there's great value here. Because like an MJ scoring kings was like $600, but a Shaq scoring kings was like $10, $20. And I was like, dude, for a fraction of the cost, Shaq is. And I looked at all the other hot cards that I wanted from
Yeah.
MJ, like my Grail list and of MJ, and I was like, all right, scoring kings, check, I can get that, $20. And then like, what else is hot? Dunkin' Go Nuts, I want that. I want this. And so I just started going through the list of every hot MJ card that I wanted, and lo and behold, Shaq would be in that list.
Yeah.
In that insert set, and he was in just about every insert set that MJ was in, because he was the future of the NBA back then. He was the hot
Yeah.
rookie, and
He was.
MJ was, and MJ was like at his zenith, and Shaq was pretty much the new rookie, the new hot rookie.
He was the hot rookie, and then Jordan went and won another 3 championships after. Anyway.
Yeah, but Shaq's won championships, so that was like tick number 2, and then Shaq's won championships, he's been dominant. Tick number, so I was just kind of in my head, I was like, look, this is a non-fail for me. I can collect Shaq and not feel bad about it, because like to me he was horribly undervalued. And so like the more I collected of him, the more I knew my collection in 10, 20 years, 30 years time is going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose value on him.
For sure.
Why do you think he's so undervalued?
I honestly don't understand it either. Like he's in the media spotlight, and maybe because he's like just kind of just in everything. He's like in America, he's like, you go down a supermarket aisle and it's just like Shaq sponsors everything.
Cereal,
like
you go to cereal, a loaf of bread, and like everything's got Shaq
printing.
on it.
I've seen him do ads for printing places.
He does sports bet, like he does betting over
Yeah,
here. Like he's here. Like that's how, but like he's just, I think because you see so much of him that maybe just people like kind of just take it for granted a little bit too. Because like there's a few players that fall into the same Shaq category. Like their prices and values don't quite spike, but they just don't, they just don't go off as hard as you think they would. Like Isaiah Thomas cards, they're like worth nothing.
Yep.
And Hakeem Olajuwon, another great. So I think a lot of 90s and 80s is just undervalued, because the people
could
who
it be
are collecting.
The era?
I think it is a little bit of the era.
Yeah.
Like basically the people who collect these guys are essentially us. Not to date myself, like we're like I'm an 80s baby.
Yeah,
and
me too,
so
I think we're all 80s.
Yeah, so like these players of the 80s, like we know the Daryl Dawkins, we know the Bill Russells, we know our NBA history quite well. So those guys were actually still quite fresh for us. We came up around the time of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and we grew, and so that era of 80s and 90s where they were handing over, we're all starting to get into the hobby now. And
I think I started. The first basketball that I really ever saw was Magic. So and then you sort of, as you become more of a student of the game, and the new hotness, I guess, is like the Shaq era.
Yeah, and then like following him, it was like Vince Carter, T-Mac. Like there's and Vince Carter has his I was kind of thinking about Vince Carter as well, but like once again, he didn't win any chips.
Yeah.
So I was like,
True.
So I was
Shaq is, a better buy than Vince Carter for sure.
Yeah.
So do you think it could be just as simple as that people buy Jordan, do you know what I mean? That's where people put their money into, and everything else just sort of isn't as collected.
And that's the thing. Like either unless you've really been a student of the NBA, like there's a few guys who like I kind of met who like they collect like one guy collects like hardcore CJ McCollum, and like there'll be a few guys that might collect like some guys drum hard on Ben Simmons, and like it's really interesting, because like I went through my phase, like I invested hard on Darius Miles, and he flopped so hard. So like, and then that was around the time that I actually stopped collecting, because I I got burned so bad as a teenager, spending so much money on Darius Miles that I was like,
That's it.
and I was like, yo, that's it. Sports cards suck, and I'm out of here for now. But
I love that Darius Miles, Alton Brand,
Yep.
Quinton Richardson team. That was sick, man. So actually, offline, I'm gonna ask you to show me some of your stuff because, yeah,
I think I moved it on. Like I moved it on ages back, but like I still
Moved
got
it
my
on or
Tim
burnt
Hardaway's.
it?
No, I still got no. I think I sold them off. Like they were either in like like some bulk lots, but I kept my Tim Hardaway collection.
okay,
Nice.
So I've got I can show you off air the Tim Hardaway collection because I've got like I've got a big folder of Tim Hardaway that
great.
like that's what I bought from Rookies and Legends. So every trip I went to his shop, I just buy a stack of Tim Hardaway cards to add to the collection
Yeah.
because it was like it was good value for me. Like as a
Yep.
kid, I was kind of like, oh, I could either buy one Kobe card or can I buy like 50 Tim Hardaways? I'm like, yeah, buy 50 Tim Hardaways.
I'd be the guy that walked in next and bought the one Kobe.
Yeah, yeah, and then like now you're laughing your ass off.
So which card have you chased the longest for?
For me, it probably was Jambalaya. I've got it over my shoulder here
Yeah,
actually, so
talk
I've
to us,
actually
man.
prepared a few cards here. So it's actually over my left shoulder. So this is the Jambalaya. So like for me, this was a card that was just kind of so far out of reach because it was expensive then. This is
Yep.
like 0304. I'm still chasing the one before this. I think it was like the 97
Yeah.
Jambalaya, what started it all. And like it's because like of MJ. Like
What is so tell us a little bit about the where do these cards come from? Like what set, what?
so this was like from the Fleer 0304 EX.
Yep.
So there's like the Skybox
Yep.
EX Sentry. And
Okay.
that series back in the day was kind of like so funky and so like so much the new wave. Like they're
Yeah.
trying new things, they're doing funky things. Like this has got that kind of like almost honeybee refractor here.
Yeah.
And they're using bold colors and like like this is just after the Topps Finest Topps Chrome era as well, the
Yep.
0304. But when the first EX came out, that was pretty much the start of Topps Finest and Topps
Yep.
Chrome, and they were using funky fresh colors. Refractors were just this new thing. And yeah, if you ever found a Jambalaya, it was just like you're just finding buried treasure.
Is the
Like that's how
equivalent of like pulling not even a kaboom or something like that. Like it's more sought
it
after, I
was.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was more because like back then there was like not even like materials cards were a new thing.
Yep.
Autos were barely existent. So like
Yep.
the only thing you could really find was like these these low SSP, low serial, like low print,
Yeah. Low print
inserts. Yeah,
So
low
if,
print inserts.
if Google is telling me the right thing, it's 1 in 10,800 packs.
Whoa.
Yeah, you know,
That's a
Yeah.
lot of packs.
that's
So,
a lot of packs.
you know,
I mean,
and if
junk
you're
wax era is probably
Yeah.
not much, but
No, no,
if you compare it to a Kaboom where there's one per case, like
Yeah.
that's wild, isn't it?
insane. Like, and then Scoring Kings is like one in every box. So like there's like you can eventually
Yeah.
strike. You can eventually strike the MJ.
wow.
But yeah, like the
Wow.
odds of like striking the Jambalaya and then like 1 in 10,000 packs, but then which
Yeah.
Jambalaya are you hitting?
Yeah.
Like
That's the thing. Like 10,000 packs, you're like, oh, it's not the player I want.
there's a few guys who just break it down. I think it was like Rimshacker who breaks down the like it's 1 in 10,000 packs, but then like if you go down to the player, it's like 1 in 10,000 of that 10,000 is
Yeah.
Shaq.
Yeah.
So it's like
I was gonna be like, how many is a checklist for it? That's the
oh,
thing. Like,
I'd like I know who else is in this collection, but I don't know the full checklist. So like I know there's like
yeah,
an Allen Iverson, there's Carmelo Anthony, there's T Mac. So there's like really good players in this in this 0304. And then in the 97, which is the harder one to get, that's the MJ one. There's an MJ in that one,
yeah,
and that MJ goes for like 10,000 plus.
yeah, that's crazy.
Just probably appropriately priced if it's 1 in every
Yeah.
10,000 packs, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
it's like $1 a pack, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Junk wax.
Yeah.
that's nuts when you
Yep.
think about it.
And I
That's,
only just came across this card like I think like
Mm.
earlier this year. Like
I was gonna say, I remember when I saw it because I follow you on Insta and I see when you get your little
mail
your little
days.
purchases and your mail days. So
And
yeah, that was when you got that. That was a big day.
that was a big day for me. And like I was like, it came out of nowhere. Like I kind of just like didn't. It's on my list of things to look for, and I'm always checking eBay, and I'm always checking Facebook marketplaces and like the forums and all that.
Yeah.
But like this one, like the dude just messaged me and he goes, "Hey, I know you collect Shaq, and I want to move on from my collection. I need to, take care of my family. I need to do some things, and like my Shaq collection. I'd like it to go to somebody who collects him."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dude, let's talk." And like a lot of these, like a lot of my rarest pickups have been from guys who either follow me online or they've seen me post something on Facebook and they message me on the DM, and then we work out a deal in the back, and then like a deal gets struck, and then these amazing cards end up in my collection because like
Yeah.
I don't advertise that I'm hunting. I don't like to do the whole
Yeah.
all looking for Shaq posts. I'll usually just I'll be the guy who just tap somebody on and just say, look, what do you want for that, or what do you want for this,
Yeah.
and then people will message me.
Well, I was going to say we've already got it in the chat. We've got John O'Michael saying, yeah, so he comes to you. You go to him for all you go to him for all of the Shaqs, taking all of his.
Jono
Who
has
else
actually.
have we got?
Jono's hit me up for a few solid cards. He's actually helped me at a lot of hobby hangouts as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I usually stop at his table and I'm like, dude, show me what you got.
I have done. I believe at the last hobby hangout, I looked at a Shaq. It was a Lakers Shaq patch auto, and I'm like, oh, should I? Shouldn't I? Did a lap, made a couple of transactions, come back and it was gone. And I'm like, bet you I know who's got it. The next day, you're doing your hobby hangout. Look at what I got, and I'm like, there it is. That is a nice Shaq.
But no, Jono at Mailman, he's delivered to me many times, and I'm very grateful for him. And I'm actually very grateful to a lot of people in the community. Like a lot of my idea to start this Instagram was kind of from like watching other guys in the hobby build their Instagrams, like Dan Howe. He started his Instagram around the same time, 3-4 years ago, from nothing. He had like 0 followers, and I still remember him posting on Facebook, like, "Hi guys, I'm new, and I want to build a Laker collection." And like people,
his adventure this year has been amazing.
And just following him and going like watching his like growth on his Instagram, like he went from like 0 to 2,000, and I was just like, dude, that's amazing, and just kind of like, but like for me, the takeaway from him was that like people were approaching him and telling him, hey, like, like we've got these Laker cards. Have you got them yet? Or people would be tagging him and say, hey, come get this. You don't have this yet. And then I was like, that Dan's onto something here. It's like I need to kind of focus my collection, because around that time I was just kind of like shotgunning it. I was like, I'm going to collect all the 90s guys, and I was like, I'm going to collect all the all the Detroit bad boys, and then like I was like just kind of throwing my cash everywhere and like coming back to my collection and going, I got some nice stuff, but it's not satisfying. It's not hitting. And then I randomly one day came across, my old Tim Hardaway folder. I was like, oh wait, like I remember this, like, and like when I collected my Tim Hardaway, it was just like I've got, like all the cards plus like even the misprint, the variant, like I, like I just kind of collected them, and then I put them all in order, and I was like, I need to do this, and I'll do it with my Shaqs. And then that's when I started kind of like selling off some of my MJs that I had as a kid to help fund this collection. And then
to focus it,
to focus the collection. And then once I started focusing it, I started seeing a really cool pattern building. And then I started, sharing it online, and then people were reaching out to me, and like at Hobby Hangout, I met a few friends, and they were like, "Oh, we've been following you on Instagram, man. Love the videos. You should do more videos." And then that's why like I've started doing more videos.
Yeah. For sure. We've got a question from the chat here. Nathan Lee, do you have the Shaq Olympic Skybox portrait? It's a beautiful card.
That one I actually don't have yet. That's like it's got this golden frame, and I remember, well, I did see it online, and I was gonna buy it, and somebody just beat me to it. But I do love that card.
There we go. So one of the listeners has got in with a card, a Shaq A
be
Shaq that
talking-
Joe does not own.
Nathan, man, if you want to move it, let's have a chat.
So just let's unpack a couple of things. So what's your Instagram, Joe, just so everyone can follow you on that?
So it's Shaq Foo 32. Shaq because Shaq, and then my own surname is Foo, Foo, and
Yep.
that kind
Yep.
of just plays along with the old Shaq Fu games
Yeah.
that I used to play
I was
as a
gonna
kid.
say there's a
That's
the
well
Shaq
played.
Fu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
that is
Shaq.
well
It was a
played.
Shaq Fu connection there, and then I was like, I can't just go Shaq Fu. I need a number, and I was like, 34? No, that doesn't rhyme. Shaq Fu 32. That's got a catch to it, and I was
Yeah.
like, that'll be my call sign.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
And then the other thing you were talking about too is about making lists. So talk to us about the value in building a list and building a chase list as opposed to just spreading your money out sort of
Yeah.
without any real plan.
Look, year one of building this collection, I kind of just went full, let's just Kirby it and just suck everything in, and I just bought a lot of the lower end Shacks.
So
when I
you
first
said
started.
Kirby it then, didn't you?
Yeah, Kirby.
Yeah.
Like that meme of Kirby just sucking all the food in. Yeah, that's pretty much what best describes the way I collect Shaq. It's
This
just-
is such a 82 like baby conversation. Like that's NES all the way, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
And just suck it all, just eat it all up, just give it to me, I'll take it all. And and then that was the way I kind of collected Shaq at the very beginning. I just built out folders of just all the lower end, like $1 here, $2 here, and just kind of just ate those up. And then in year two, I started to hit on some of the more higher end stuff, like started to pick up some lower, some autos, and started to pick up some of the high end stuff. So like, back then it was like, some autos, some tops autos, and then some immaculate autos, and just slowly fleshing it out. And then eventually,
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But that's the normal thing that people do. They go wild over like cheaper base cards and
Yep.
inserts and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think there's two trains of thought to that. The first one is everyone makes the same mistake and that's where everyone starts. Or you can say, well, actually, that's the place to start because it's a really easy place to experiment on a pretty low budget. And then you can work out what you like and you don't like. I actually think that's a
Yeah.
very important progress or stepping stone that people need to go through as they do progress as a collector.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's like back
It's
to back. That throws back
it's
to
interesting
my old days.
though.
Yeah. Sorry, Adam, go on.
No, that's all right. I was just like just the idea of consuming everything you can at a low end, sort of like I want as much Shaq as I can get my hands on, right? And just buy everything.
Or even
cards,
just
$2
cards
cards,
when you first start out, right? Adam?
Yeah.
You know, like you just sort of buying stuff and it's fun. It's like a really kind of
It
fun
is.
part of
Yep.
the hobby that
You
go
know,
through.
somebody one day is going to use the acquiring of all the junk wax style stuff, and they're just going to paint their walls with it at
Yep.
home.
I
And it's just going to.
Someone's done that already in baseball cards, right? Yeah.
I would
saw
love.
some-
It's like imagine your cabinet lined with Shaqs, just dollar Shaqs.
Man, it look, I was telling you about my man cave. that could very well happen.
Oh wow!
But
These
it
are
was kind
ideas
of
now.
a throwback to when I collect Tim Hardaway. Like as
Yeah.
a kid, I didn't have the cash,
Yeah.
and so like I couldn't go splashing out on $50 auto or a crazy like back then when Exquisite first came out, people were like, who's gonna pay that price for Exquisite? I was like, like $1,000 a box. You guys are crazy. Like and then like now it's like I'll drop 1,000 on a box real
On a break,
easy.
right?
On a
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
Like it's like
It's
no
crazy.
guaranteed. So like
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
started kind of like when you start formulating that, it was just kind of like, you know what, I enjoyed the breaks. I enjoyed watching, Cherry and Matt Harper on Crash the Board and like, a little bit of Mailman and like kind of jumping in all the breaks. And I really enjoyed that. Loved the entertainment. And I took it as, this is entertainment. Like I'm just
Yeah.
hanging out,
Yeah.
just talking with
Yeah.
the boys. Like I pretty much logged in online just to talk shit with the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a sense of community.
Yeah. And when somebody hits, you're like, oh, like who hit that? And then they're like, it's like, oh, it's, Dave, like it's like, yeah, you know what, I don't mind Dave hitting that, I don't mind Dave getting that card. And it sucks for me. I just dropped $500 on Lakers, but you know what? Fine. You know what?
And that's a question I've got with Shaq. You've got you going into breaks. You've got Orlando. You've got Los Angeles. You've got Miami. Hell, you've got Cleveland, Phoenix, and Boston. But
Yep, I jumped into all those noirs hoping to get the sneaker spotlight Shaq, and then I was like,
yeah,
and then I did the maths one day, and I was like, wait a minute, I could have
why
just
don't you
bought
just buy
this
it?
damn thing. Yeah, I was like, why did I just go buy this thing? Because I was like, there was like, like, what was it back then? It was like, 800 or something for a
Yeah,
Shaq sneaker spotlight. So I was like, wait a minute, I could
I
have
spent
one by now.
$2,000 on
Yeah.
brakes. I could have
Like,
just bought the
like
card.
spend
Yeah.
thousands on brakes, and I was like, wait a minute, like, you know what? I'm all for supporting the community, but wait a minute, I need to have something tangible, which is where I started to get into like the repacks, and then from repacks, like I was like, I like the idea of kind of like
Mm.
spending a little bit and getting something. Like it doesn't have to be, my money back. I don't care. I just like the fact of just opening a pack and
Enjoying something and getting something. Yeah,
getting a
definitely.
card. And like
Yeah.
sometimes I've gotten really lucky. I've hit some really big stuff in my repacks, which you know and then sometimes I've hit absolute junk,
Yeah.
but that's fine. I accept that because at least I know I'm getting something. I'm getting a card. Whereas like when I jumped in
Yeah.
breaks, I got nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I remember
Yeah,
like
skunking out in a break hurts.
yeah, especially when you're watching the break and then like you get used to that feeling of like, oh come on, just give me one card, just one, just one, man, just one. It's been a week, like I've been waiting, like you just kind of just
Yeah.
waiting for that hit, and then you finally get that hit, and you're like, oh, I got a Mike Miller. Like I was just like, I mean, I like him, but he's not what I was hoping for. I wanted to jump around.
Yeah.
You know.
That's it.
You're wearing a Crash the Boards t-shirt, yeah?
Yeah, I gotta rep my boy.
That's okay. Go.
He's part of the Shackwit community. So there's a group of boys, group of the guys in Australia who got together for evening with Shaq, and we're talking
Yeah.
about community now. And this is like a bunch of dudes who are just online and are just like, hey guys, anybody coming for this event, you want to just grab a beer? And like by that point, I'd been talking to a few other big collectors in Australia. Matty Bull down in Western Australia, like I don't know how many cards I've bought and traded with him. Like it's and so we hatched a plan and created a group, and then like 5 of us got together. So it was like me, Brad Boltman, who's like this crazy American dude who just travels all over the world. He's gone to like 134 hard rocks, and
Wow.
yeah, he's just a crazy dude. He's one of those kind of like very interesting men that you meet along these
Yeah.
collecting journeys. So like
Yeah.
Yep.
if you ever want to talk to somebody, Brad. And then you've got like Paul and Dave and and Matt Harper. And like all of us are kind of like Shaq collectors who just all love Shaq. And then we created the Shackwits crew. And
Love
yeah,
it.
that was what we had the evening like 2 years ago now, and we're still
Yeah.
live and chatting like every day, still chatting and just giving each other crap. And
That's awesome.
like it's not even talk about Shaq anymore now. It's just kind of like occasionally
It's a meme group where the
it's a meme
community
group
gets to
now,
get together.
Yeah, we just talk NBA. We talk,
Yeah.
we talk anything. It's just like, hey, do you know where to get do you have got a guy for framing? Like, do you have a dude that does this or that? And we just kind of like, we just chat on just random stuff. So it's just it went from like, brought together by Shaq to now, we're just a bunch of friends, like some of the, like when we catch up, like I'll be catching up with Brad next week because he's just finished his world tour. And he's back in town. So I'll go catch up with him too. So, that's what I love about collecting. And that's why I keep building the Shaq Instagram is because of the community, that group of friends who, like I haven't even met any of these guys. Like, physically, I have not met some of these guys.
It's a really weird thing, isn't it? You feel like you know these people quite well because you talk to them every day, but yeah, you've never shook their hand or had a coffee with them. Yeah.
Yeah, like
That's
I've got
crazy.
like these are like guys I've like shared some really big moments with, and who've supported me in some really big moments. Like I lost both my parents in the last 2 years. And these are the brothers and sisters who have reached out and said, hey man, like I'm just calling, like you good, and like that goes beyond cards now, like
that's community. That's not just cards. That's community. Yeah.
No, and like Matty Harper, he's done some charity fundraising for a friend whose missus is affected by cancer, and that affected me because I was like, I lost mom to cancer, and I was like, I'm all in on this. Like, what do you want me to donate? And I'll just chucked a whole bunch of cards and money and just said, take it, man. Like, I'll support this cause, and
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
just it's a whole other world, like, and you build these beautiful communities, you share, you talk, you love, you live, and you get together over cards, which is just such a small thing, but it's so much bigger than just the cards.
It's a thing
Yeah.
that holds you together, and it's like your common interest, right? I think that's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
So what's next, Joe? You got a few projects on the go, and
I've look, I think you've seen the box over my shoulder. You got
yeah,
card fever. So look,
tell us about it. Yeah, show us it.
so
Tell us
so
about it.
so Jake is a buddy of mine. I met him through Quran, and he started his own, in his own repacks. And
Yep.
I actually met Quran, and actually I met Adam at EJ's. So
At
talking
EJ's
about
at the trade night that we organized.
talk about your local LCS. So
Yeah.
and like I'm Box Hill is my local, and
Yeah.
I was really happy that I found EJ's, and so like I just went there all the time, and Karan lives
Yeah.
nearby, and we just started chatting online, and every time I talk to him, he's always like hype. He's my hype man. Like
He's definitely a hype guy. Yeah.
yeah, he's my hype man. Like every time he's like, hey, when I record, when I talk to you, man, you need to tell people that you're the biggest Shaq collector in Australia, and I'm like, I am one of them. Like, there's a few of us, and he's like, so he's always like hyping me up, and I love it, absolutely love it. But yeah, like I met Jake through the community at EJ's, and then like he started his own little project to do repacks, and so I helped them out with the promo stuff, which is new for me. I'm not unused to being in front of a camera. Like I do, I do a lot of speaking for work. I work at a winery at Shandong in the Yarra Valley. So I manage the wines over there, and I do a lot of public speaking. So like came natural to me. And so when they needed some help, I was like, yeah, man, like you want me to talk? I don't need it. Like you don't need to pay me. I'm just happy to just talk, and just throw my handle up there, and we'll see if we can spread my, my Shaq Foo 32 a little further.
Great.
And I just help them out with that, and just build that community.
Awesome. How long have you been doing that for, man?
Probably like 3-4 months now. It just only really started this year, so he's just started off small, and I think eventually he wants to do more repacks, and who knows, maybe even open a shop of his own one day. But like right now it's just the repacks, it's all online. So they just do it on cardfever.com.au, and then they just go from there.
Cool.
So they've just got their varying levels. They've got like introductory level, and then they got silver repacks, gold repacks, god box. So it just varying price.
I've seen some Pokemon stuff there as well. I think
they do the Pokemon repack as well. So like there's a few, and then like I like talking to Alex and I like talking to Karan because like I'm a really big 80s 90s guy, so I do a lot of pricing for them on that side, like just kind of like, oh, we got these cards. I have no clue what these are, and I'm like, I remember those. So like I'm kind of like their comp guy.
Yeah.
What do you get out of a god box? What's the hits that they're advertising out of that?
The god box hits can get above like the the $500 mark. So when I opened this one, the main chase hit, actually the main chase hit at that time I got out of it was a Kobe Bryant jersey patch. So like a really nice jersey patch, and like I was really stoked with that. So the way they've constructed their patches, their boxes, they try to kind of give back, like a pretty good return. Like you're not going to get, if you don't get all your money back, you're at least going to get a pretty good return. Like you're not going to feel, oh man, I got full ripped. And they usually put in like a couple of packs of cards, and like this talk started when they saw me buying all the EJ's repacks. Because like I'm an absolute sucker for a repack, and like it started with the cherry pies, and I got roped into the cherry pies, and then like because the cherry pies don't come as often as they really should, like you kind of just start hunting for like the next repack.
Give me more repacks.
Like I can't, and like Card Lab, and then you've also got Moneyball, but Moneyball, like it gets, Shane usually releases that to the breakers. So
they've sort of gone in a little bit of a different direction now, haven't they?
Different paths, and like this, and
Card Lab have got their cards in like vending machines.
Vending machines, yeah, they do.
Right? So it's really interesting.
I saw that in the shopping center. I just went almost bought a repack.
Yeah. I was like, I'm waiting to find it, but like, like I've always been a sucker for a repack, and so,
Yeah.
So if you're in Melbourne, they're in the Emporium.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
The vending
Like,
machine.
Yeah, the vending machine's there, and you can actually get cards. Like they've got packs in it, and then there's also the card lab.
Yeah.
So I think they're becoming a lot more socially acceptable. I feel like for a while they're a little bit not that well accepted, but I would say the last 12 months they've really taken off, haven't they? So
It's interesting how there are different things within the hobby that have sort of been acceptable or not acceptable over time.
yeah,
Because when I came back into the hobby and they were doing breaks, I'm like, what the hell is this? I just want a box of cards to open. What do you
Yeah.
mean I can pay more and we'll open a case and I'll get all of one team? That seems great.
Yeah.
And then, but it's like, and then breaks evolved
Yeah.
to where you could buy individual players.
Pick your player, and then
then,
when buy your cereal, you get like random cereal, random team, and I'm like,
yeah, like, and then that sort of evolved, and then you had repacks, and repacks were just junk normally.
yeah, it's usually
And then
like
all
the
of a
shop
sudden,
just getting rid of their trash in the
correct. It's
repack.
like
Yeah.
repacking base cards with the occasional insert. I'm like, hang on a second, what's going on here?
Yep.
But then,
Yep.
yeah, things evolve, and there's more quality put into them, and yeah, interesting, very
Yeah, and
interesting.
then now like the next phase of the repack is kind of like we show you the hit list, like this is what you could possibly hit,
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
very
so
much like I liken it to those claw machines or those like vendors machines you see, to get the prize.
skill
Like,
testers.
yeah, those skill tester machines. It's very much like that. You kind of like it's like, oh, I can get that iPhone. I can so
Yeah.
get that iPhone. And then like like
You
3
walk away
hours
with a key
later,
ring, but you could have got the iPhone.
3 hours later, and probably about the equal amount of money, you probably could have just gone to that JB Hi-Fi and got that iPhone.
Yes, exactly. But it's not nowhere near as fun.
But yeah, like, and that's breaking, right? That's kind of like that's what you do with breaks.
Yeah.
Like you jump in 1,000 breaks, and like one day you might be the lucky guy that gets the Ant-Man rookie auto, or
Yeah. But we've said that about the way that Fanatics is sort of approaching the hobby.
Yep.
Moving into the next couple of years is going to be very interesting, I
They're
guess,
tightening it up.
development-wise. They are.
Yeah,
They're I mean, I was away for the episode, but Russ and Lachlan went through, and I'm very excited about how the hobby is going to be regulated moving forward.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's what, no gambling on the site, but like,
oh, look, I think things will evolve, and I think they'll realize there's certain things you can and can't control, and I think they're starting to take steps, but they might be going the wrong way about it.
unless they're going to be employing 100 people breaking 24 hours a day, there's no way they can.
Oh, they can't. You can't police these things. It's not.
How many breakers are currently in Australia at the moment? What, 700?
Something. Yeah, it's
like realistically.
America.
Yeah. And so how many would be going in America at the moment? What, 7,000?
A lot.
Yeah.
But what the Fanatics direction, and I remember, geez, this is early days. This is like when we started the podcast, talking about the Luba Manifesto, and it was all about evolving and growing evolving within the hobby in this new design space. Yeah. It's almost like the repack section of it is, instead of the products that are released, we're looking back at products that were released, and that's where the repacks are coming from. Like, it's interesting how the consumer is reselling the product in a different sense. So it's just it's a new form of the evolution of the hobby. It's interesting to see what ideas people come up with.
Yeah, it's a brave new world, man. I mean, look, when I first jumped in, I was like, I was taken aback by breaks, and it took me literally just kind of watching, the daily streams of like Cherry and the other boys, and just kind of just like watching those daily streams and just kind of going, oh, so this is how it works. Because like I hated being, like that. I hated being lost and kind of going like, I just gave you guys $200. How do I know what's mine? And then like I've seen in some of the threads, like guys are like, yeah, I bought in a break. I don't know what I got. I don't know what team I am. I don't know what I'm watching for, And then people go,
and you've got to watch the whole video. Yeah.
You got to go back to the web page, get your number, which then when they randomize the teams, that's your team, and then that's any hits from that is yours, And I was just, And like I kind of had to watch a few, and I had to watch a few people asking the dumb question for me because I was just too scared to ask the dumb question because like I was so used to being, like
Yeah.
when I first collected, I knew what was going on. I just went and bought a Beckett, read through the Beckett, and like found my prices. Like
This is
that's
what my cards are worth.
it is
The magazine tells me. It's very
yeah,
simple.
yeah. It's just so simple, and like if I want to buy a pack, I buy a pack. Like they're $5 each or $2 each or
That's it. That's it.
uh,
That's it.
you
Or
know,
whatever the newsagent had at the time, I guess. Or
right?
yeah, the local
Yeah,
shop. Yeah, there
yeah.
weren't
Like
many.
the little wall of like you know of acetate.
That's it. Oh
Have
god.
we,
I
after you, Ed?
Yep, I was gonna say I've got some random questions
Yeah,
because
go for it.
I'll go off script
Yes.
as I always do.
Yep.
Your Shaq collection. Big question.
Yep.
You have a Shaq from every team Shaq's played for?
I've got a Shaq from every team he's played for.
Yep.
One of my Grail quests is the Shaq auto. So every Shaq auto of every team he's played for.
Right.
Okay, so you
So,
don't
yeah.
have who are you missing auto wise?
So I actually just don't have the Cavaliers Shaq, and I
Yeah.
don't have the Boston Celtics Shaq.
in an
Those
auto.
two Shaqs are so expensive.
Really?
Yeah, like it was like somebody quoted me. It was like over $1,000 for like the Cavalier Shaq, and there wasn't many
Wow.
print of him signing in the Cavaliers
Yep.
jersey. And then the same thing goes for the Boston Shaq, the big Shamrock Shaq. So there's only like there's
Yeah.
two that are kind of on my radar. And funny enough, I was bidding against one of my fellow Shaqwits for it, and then I was like,
Oh
and then
wow.
I was like, is that you? Like Matt, are you bidding on this? And he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stop because like we're gonna just pump each other up. And I was like, I'm happy for you to take this,
Yeah.
And
Take it down like
there's been
wow.
times where like I've kind of nicked the card that they wanted,
Yep.
and like like was it like this one here over my shoulder? Like this is the impeccable 75th anniversary.
Oh, that is a sexy card.
And I was just, I was watching it on eBay, and I kind of went in after it as hard as I could, and
Yeah.
I ended up, funny enough, winning it. And then like one of the guys on the Shaqwit chat was like, "Man, somebody took I'm pissed, like somebody took the impeccable, and somebody beat me." And I'm like, and then like one of the boys is like, Jojo, is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, man."
Oh no.
Sorry, not sorry, And then like
That's it.
it's become this kind of like game of like on the chat, and it's just like guys
Yeah.
are just it's the same with like other people who collect Shaq on the thread. They're probably they've probably nicked a few of the ones that I was chasing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
must have fallen asleep at the wheel and just stopped bidding, you know. And yeah, so like I love that game. I prefer that game more than jump in and breaks. Like
Yep.
like just kind of battling it out for Shaqs. But funny enough, it gets back to like like community. So I was like, when they beat me, I'm kind of like, at least one of us has it. Like one, like if one of the Shaqwits own it,
Yeah. At
we
least
all
it's in
own
the
it. Yeah,
Shaqwit group. Yeah.
it's in the crew, right? So
Yeah.
one's part of the crew, always part of the crew.
Beautiful. So you're chasing Boston and Cleveland.
Boston and Cleveland are the autos I need because I've got every other auto, including Phoenix and yeah. And
Now I don't know historically because I've done no research on this, but I think because we've had other guests that have told us about different cards that have been produced. Charlie at Cherry
Yep.
has a thing for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we've been asking about whether or not he's got his Arnie's. Now, Shaq's been in a few movies.
Yes.
Have you got a Shaq auto for a non-basketball card?
Okay, guys, we're going to tie off this episode here. We're going to leave you hanging to find out if Joe has in fact got a non-Shaq autograph card. The next episode will be up in a couple of days' time. Please come back and listen to the end of Joe's wonderful interview. As always, guys, thank you so much for listening. Catch you on the socials. Don't forget to check out EJ Cards, our sponsor, and do not forget about their trade day, which is coming up on the 30th of July. Take care, guys, and see you soon. Bye-bye.